Hey, this is Mike from Black Cat Amplification. I've got a really cool new amp build here to sell to you guys. So this is built in an old Emerson, about 1930s, early 1940s radio cabinet. It's a really nice slanted cabinet. If you saw from an ad I posted, you know, the slant is just a really unique shape, and it's a really nice solid wood cabinet. This is a DLAB Electronics original design amplifier. I built it as part of Black Cat Amplification, but if you guys know Terry from DLAB, he runs a YouTube channel where he shows building amps and servicing amps, and he does a lot of different radio and electronics equipment type videos. But he designed this particular model, which is a 6K6. This is actually the newest model that he just put out, was a Super 6K6, which means it has tremolo as well. It's a really cool amp. I've built several of his amps. He shares the schematics with the public, and you just follow the schematics and build his amp. He's built them in some old police radios. If you've seen his recent videos, if you're a subscriber, you've probably seen that. But I like to do stuff in different cabinets and stuff, and I thought this would be a perfect cabinet to use for this particular build. I had to really get creative on the chassis because of the shape of the cabinet. There's all these weird angles and stuff, but I built a custom chassis. It's painted a really nice metallic silver color, and you can see the 3 tubes here are illuminated by some amber colored LED lights, just to sort of make them stand out. Probably shows in the pictures a little bit better because I got some bright lights here in this room. These are old radio style knobs. They weren't original to the radio, but they are the types of almost like Bakelite type knobs that came with these old radios. I left the window glass empty because it's just such a beautiful view of the 3 tubes, and they fit in there just perfectly. So Terry designed this. He designed one without tremolo, and this is the second one that he designed with tremolo. So there are 3 tubes here. There's a 12AX7, and you could replace that with, you know, a comparable tube like a 12AU7, a 12AT7, something with lower gain. But I think the 12AX7 sounds great in this circuit, and that's what it's designed for. The 6K6 is the power tube, very similar to a 6V6, although I think the 6K6s are, one, a lot cheaper than the 6V6s, and they're more readily available, especially on places like eBay if you're looking for old tubes. And also I think they have a little bit less gain when they're really pushed than the 6V6s, almost a little smoother sound to them. And of course, the small tube here, which is a 7-pin on this side, is a 6AV6, and that is basically the oscillator tube. That's what controls the tremolo. So very simple circuit. There's a lot of parts to it, but it's all put together just as Terry had designed, and there's 4 knobs. So basically you have your power on and off. So I have that as an on-off switch, and that is also volume. You have a tone control, which works really well for the tone. And of course you have your tremolo, intensity, and your speed. So the intensity knob I actually have as a switch to turn it on to start the tremolo, and turn it off, you know, so that you don't, you know, if you wanted to just completely remove it from the mix altogether. So let's take a listen to it. I just wanted to record this in the room. I'm not doing anything crazy here. I do have a recorded little sample with some microphones. I use this microphone right up against the speaker. I have a 6-inch Weber Signature Series speaker, which is really nice for this little guy. Now, if you're very picky about amps and want every little thing to sound perfect, like when I crank the amp all the way up to 10, it's not smooth. Well, yeah, some amps aren't going to be great all the way up to 10, right? This amp, especially if you crank it all the way up and get gain with a little tiny 6-inch speaker, it's going to sound a little farty. You know, it's just the way a 6-inch speaker pushed with 5 watts to it is going to sound. However, I've designed it with 2 outputs, so you can hook up to 2 larger speaker cabinets. You know, if you have a 4x12, if you have a 2x12, or even a 112 speaker, that's going to handle the pushed, you know, volume all the way up sound a lot better than a little 6-inch speaker would. So I just put the 6-inch speaker here inside of this to be like a practice speaker. It's going to sound great at clean volumes when you get it pushed a little bit, yeah, it'll break up, but it's not going to sound great. If you really want that to sound awesome, plug it into a larger speaker that can handle that breakup a lot better, and you'll be really happy with that sound. So anyway, let's take a listen to it clean. And this is just in the room with my phone recording this so that you can kind of hear what it sounds like just in a real life setting. You know, like I said, I have a recorded clip that you can check out, just miking up the speaker, but just see what it sounds like in the room here, okay? So we have a volume knob here. Really nice, chimey, clean sound. A lot like a Fender Champ kind of a sound, but a little bit different because the circuit's different, obviously. It's very similar tone stack to a Fender, but Terry does some pretty cool designs. I really like his tone stack ideas that he kind of borrows from Fender, but he does a great job of laying out the schematic and making a really nice sounding amp with the tube complement that's in it. So anyway, let's take the tone knob all the way down. So very dark, right? About halfway up. A little more. And tone all the way. Really nice and bright and present. It's not overly bright. It doesn't get into that ice pick highs territory. It's a really nice balanced EQ sound. I really like it. Alright, let's listen to the tremolo. So you turn the tremolo switch on. Now, when you turn this on, it's going to start breaking up as you turn, or not breaking up, but oscillating as. So you see it's very, very low oscillations here. I'm going to turn the speed all the way down. And it gets more intense as you turn it. Intensity. Cut back just a little so the notes, you can hear all the notes ring out, the sustain of the notes. It's got a lot of great sustain. But you can still hear it oscillating sort of on top of that. The speed knob can get very slow, or as you start to turn it up, speeds up. It's really fast. It's pretty wild, very shimmery. All the way up. Very, very nice tremolo sound. There you go, and turn the tremolo off. Alright, now let me show you the breakup a little bit with this amp. So I've got my bridge pickup on, which is a little bit hotter. So it's a little more, you know, chimier. So like I said, with the 6-inch speaker, it's not going to sound great because, you know, you're pushing a lot through a tiny little speaker. So if you actually, I'll play it through a 412 here, and you can see how those speakers will be able to handle the breakup and the loudness a lot better. I did have a reverb pedal on. That's the only pedal I had to give it some room sound, but you're really pushing what this speaker can do, right? Again, it's just there for practice. When Terry designed his amps, he did not put a speaker in it. It was just a head unit in a small, like, police receiver radio with no speaker, just as a head unit. So I decided to put the little speaker in there. It's what I could fit in this cabinet. It's the only thing that would really fit large enough. Was a 6-inch speaker, which, like I said, sounds amazing, clean, but you know, pushed a little bit, it's kind of maxing out the great sound of that speaker, right? So let's do this. Let's plug in a larger speaker. If you have a larger cabinet, you would just unplug the main cord here. And let's see, this is an 8-ohm speaker cabinet. I've got this Mesa Boogie 412 down here. You can kind of see the difference. Also, with the cleans, you really get a thick sound. Push it a little bit. A little more. Switch my pickup here. Some really great breakup here when you push it through a bigger speaker, right? So with the tone knob almost all the way up and the volume all the way up. Nice little 6K6 amp. Terry did a great job designing the circuit. It sounds awesome. Through this 412 cabinet, man, it is loud. My neighbors are going to be pissed if they heard that. But yeah, it's probably pushing close almost 5 watts, I would think. I'd have to check the schematic here, but the 6K6, I believe, It's very similar to the 6V6, so it can kind of do what a Champ can do pretty much as far as power goes. But the Tremolo sounds awesome. There's a lot you could do with that just by kind of changing the values of these and getting them mixed in just right with the speed and the intensity. So really nice little amp. I'll show you the back and show you what the uses are on that and how to hook up the speakers. Okay, here's the back of the 6K6. So we have this really nice piece of hardboard, basically. They call it BORD, but it's basically kind of like a pressed piece of material that's very hard. It's used for the backs of radios, or at least it's very similar material that they used in the old days with the radios. I've got a nice little handle here so you can carry the amp. It's got a little weight to it, yeah, but not super heavy. But yeah, this is nice so that you can carry it around and not have to put a handle right on top where it would kind of lose the aesthetic of the radio itself. So here's the back of the chassis. You can see it's very large, and that's because there's a big slant for this radio. So I had to design this chassis by hand and bend it so that it would actually make it flat and flush with the inside as it goes on an angle. So very cool little design. And it's got your IEC port here for your power. So all you got to do is plug your where's my power cable? Here you go. So you just plug in one of these IECs, which will come with the amp. There's also a 1 amp fuse, which is very easy to replace right here from the back, just in case anything happens with your power. I'll include extra 1 amp fuses, as I do with all my amp builds if you do purchase this. And in all my amp builds, where I can, and just about all of them, I try to get the upgraded transformers so that you can have a choice of 4, 8, or 16 ohm impedance loads. It'll make it work with so many different external speakers. Again, it has its own little speaker here, and you can plug that in here, and I've got written on there 4 ohms. That's what the internal speaker is set at. There's the main speaker knob. So if you're only, speaker input, if you're only running 1 speaker, you want to use the main. If you're running 2 or more than 1, you want to use the external for the second one, right? So, and set your impedance accordingly. So if you had, let's say, 2 8 ohm cabinets separate, right, and you wanted to run both of them, so you would set your ohms for 4 ohms because that would be a total 4 ohm load. And if you had 2 16 ohm cabinets, you would set it to 8 ohms, right? If you have just 1 external cabinet, just set the impedance to whatever that speaker cabinet is. So for right now, we have the internal plugged in. It's a 4 ohm speaker cab. I would switch my impedance to 4 ohms. Very easy, very versatile too, so that you can kind of plug it into different speakers and try it out and get different sounds that way. There's 1 instrument input right there, and that's pretty much it for the back. You can access the tubes just unscrewing this panel, and also access them from the front because, again, there is a window. You can see the slant here. Really nice design. Really nice wood cabinet radio. So you'd be able to reach in here and change the tubes out if you wanted to try different tubes. And the amp wouldn't need to be biased or anything like that if you change tubes. It's biased conservatively enough that if you have a 6K6 tube that's a little bit different than the one that's in here, it should handle it just fine. Now, this is a Raytheon vintage tube, and I have a Sylvania 6AV6. All these tubes tested really good. And I've got a vintage 12AX7 in here as well. So a really nice lineup of tubes, really nice little amp. So let me know if you have any questions. Wherever you saw this posted, probably on reverb.com or somewhere like that. If you got any questions about it, let me know and I'll answer. But it's a really nice little amp. Thank Terry from DLAB for the schematic. He's the one that designed this amp. I did not design this. Terry designed it. I just built it the way he said to build it. So very cool. And props to Terry. I love that guy. Gave me so much great information on his channel about amps and repairing them, safety, lots of good topics for amp people like me. So, all right. Well, thanks for checking this video out. Have a good one.